This is John Zaninovich. Welcome to Move My Mass. You'll be hearing from great guests talk about balancing life and being fit. Welcome to the show, Grant.
Thanks for having me, John.
Yeah, glad to have you on. I was talking to your dad, I don't know, about a month ago. And to be honest, I said, hey, you think Joseph wants to come on? You know, playing ball at Fresno State. He's like, man, he's swamped. He goes, who you need to have on is Grant. He goes, that guy's incredibly fit right now. He goes, have him on. I'm like, heck of an idea. So here we are.
Yeah. Glad to be here. I've been listening to a couple episodes in the past couple of years, and I'm a big fan of the show and glad to be on here.
Awesome. So obviously you're fit, but the bigger story and, your interesting story is your college football days. Mm-hmm. Your, how you got there, your path that you took to get to college football, what life is like now post, you've been out of school now for 6 years.
6 years.
What life is like now after an intense schedule like that.
Right.
Yeah. Let's get in. What got you into football? I know you're from a football family.
Right.
I think everybody, hasn't everybody in your family, uncles, and they've all played? Yeah.
All of them pretty much have played football at least one time.
Right.
And like you said, my family comes from a football-oriented family or just sports in general.
Yeah.
My dad played at Cal Poly, played football there for a couple of years. And then my uncle Byron, he played at Fresno for a couple of years as well, football.
Yeah.
And then my other uncle, Jeff, he was actually the big golfer in the family. Mm-hmm. And he got close to going pro, but he actually was really good. I think he got Q school, I think. I'm not sure. That's like the part where you get into the PGA.
Right before, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think he got there. So we're our foundation is sports. We love it. It's what we do.
Yeah.
It's what we live and breathe.
Jeff, the one most built like a football player now.
Yeah. He's a tank now. If you see him, it's like, wow, that guy was probably O-lineman back in the day.
No kidding.
But no, he was the golfer.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, we were very into sports, very hardcore. Like we took it very seriously. So with me, I had when I was growing up, I wasn't really I kind of like sports, but I wasn't really full in I wasn't full and bought into it, I guess.
You weren't that driven.
I wasn't that driven at first. They're like, what are we going to do with Grant? Okay, let's put him in. We'll try him out in baseball. We'll put him in baseball. Yeah. They'll see me out in the outfield, chasing butterflies, messing around, not even paying attention to the pitcher throwing the ball.
Yeah.
They're like, gosh, dang, what are we going to do with him? Everyone in our family loves sports. What do we do with him? Let's put him in motocross. So they put me in motocross.
Yeah.
And the first day I got there, I did not want to go down the ramp. I was like, no way. I'm not going down the ramp. No, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
So my parents are completely embarrassed. I was the only one that didn't go down during the race. Yeah. I was like, so anyways.
How old are you at this time? Did you say?
I was around 7 or 8 years old at this time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was just totally in my own head, my own imagination, So then one day they put me into pitching machine.
Okay.
And I'm sure my dad talked to the coach, hey, he's not really into it, but we kind of wanted to get more involved with baseball and everything. So I go out there and I was the last batter, right? Last in the order. I think there's 12 of us. I was the 12th hitter. And my first at bat, I hit it inside the park home run. Because the back up a little bit before this game, my dad was like, hey, Grant, this is your chance. We're going to do pitching machine. Because before I did live pitch. Mm-hmm. This is pitching machine. This is a little bit simpler. This is something you can get into. It's fun to win. This is something you can do. Competition's fun. When you win, it's a great thing, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. I was trying to listen a little bit, right? So I was like, what could I do to make my dad proud? And I was like, let's get a freaking hit. Let's at least put the ball in play, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how I did this, John, but I just connected on this pitch on the pitching machine, and it went in the left center gap. And I was always known for my speed.
Yeah.
And I just ran around the bases, got inside the park home run, and it just shocked everyone. My coach, my dad were just where'd this come from, right?
Yeah.
And so ever since that, they put me in the top of the order, lead off.
Yeah.
They put me at pitcher, by the pitching machine, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was a complete turnaround. And then
it's a confidence booster right there. It was just
huge confidence booster. Cause in my own head, I was like, oh wow, like I'm actually not bad. Like I can actually play with these guys, right?
Yeah.
So then after that, that's when we started going to Northwest baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad coached that year. Like he was like, okay, like I'm gonna try to get a little bit more serious with you. Like let's start practicing, let's start paying more attention to, like, let's go to Dodger games, like see how those guys do it, mimic it, go out in Northwest and do it, right?
Right.
I started really watching baseball a lot, was becoming more of a fan, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, let's try to get at this thing. And I started hitting, like, so at Northwest, I was like 9 years old. I hit my first home run.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably one of the best days of my life. Like my dad was like there, I hugged him. Like it was so great, right? I loved it. And then I was like, wow, like, can I do that? Can I keep on replicating that feeling? Like, that was like a great high to have, you know what I mean? Like, let's just replicate that. So that following year when I was 10, I hit 7 home runs that year. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I'm getting pretty good at this now. And then, you know, I kept on rolling with it. And then all of a sudden, I started watching USC football. Yeah. That's when USC was kind of prominent. Like that's when Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, like all those studs, Pete Carroll was there. Yeah. I started watching that a little bit and I was like, this looks a little bit more exciting than baseball. Like I kind of like, you know, like it's cool. Like the tradition, like for USC, like what they do before the game and their legacy and like how great they were and the history and everything. But like I was watching like Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, like these Heisman trophy winners and Pete Carroll, Hall of Fame coach. Right. Yeah. We went to the game. I think it was the Fresno State versus USC game. They played. I think it was 2005. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
I remember that.
I was like a little kid, but Fresno was like in the game. Like it was super close. We're like
Fresno, they were winning for a while.
Yeah, we're rooting for Fresno. Totally, I secretly liked USC, but I was still rooting for Fresno because you know it's Fresno.
And your uncle might have killed you.
Oh yeah, he would have been. Yeah, he would have been mad. But anyways, so ever since I went to that game, I was like totally bought into football. I was like, gosh dang, I want to play in front of all these fans, like 80 to 100,000 fans. Like, I feel like that'd be just so great, you know, just running out through that tunnel and just getting that adrenaline rush.
So you're like 15 at the time?
No, I was
older.
Like, it was before high school. So I was like probably like 11.
Okay.
Around 11.
Okay.
So, so that's when I started doing like Golden Empire and all that. I played quarterback for a little bit. And then, then I went in the Garces, played both sports, played baseball and football, did very well in both. Yeah. But obviously, like, I want to go play football in college. Like, I love baseball. It's been with me my whole life. My first love for sports, right?
And at that time, so by the time you get to Garces, what were you better at? Football or baseball? Or push?
Man, I think they're both the same, to be honest with you. Yeah. I'd say that because I got all area in both sports.
But your passion was football.
Football, I think. I still had like that first love for baseball. So I was like, do I really want to get rid of it? Or I don't know. I just liked football way too much.
Could have been the next Deion Sanders.
Yeah, maybe.
Play both with the big leagues.
I know, right? So I got all area in both sports, did very well in both. Mm-hmm. But the biggest mistake I gotta say that I made was I neglected grades. I did not care about school. I did not care about turning my assignments in. I could care less about tests.
Right.
All I care about was sports. Like my goal was sports. I'm going to just focus on sports, watch film, train, do whatever I can do. Right. But I was so blind to the fact that you got to have good grades to go to college. You got to still get accepted. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally blind to that fact.
Right.
So my senior year, I was getting interest for football. I was getting interest from Fresno, San Jose State, San Diego State, you know, like those typical schools, right?
Yeah.
They always wanted to ask for my grades and they always came back, hey, you know, sorry, man, we just can't accept you. Like, you know, your GPA is not high enough. And I was like, shoot. All right.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I had CSUB approach me for baseball. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know, I really want to play football, but like, this is like my only option. Like, this is, you know, this is the cards I got to play with, you know?
Right. Right.
So I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's play baseball. So that first fall there, I was practicing with the team. I think it was Bill Kernan was the head coach at that time. And it was, first of all, they really didn't give me as much of a chance because I had to start late due to my grades, because I had to like get my SAT scores, ACT scores all correct before they would allow me to go out to the field, right?
Right.
So that took a couple months for me to actually get out there. So I was way behind. Like my competition was there the whole time, and it was a losing battle for me, right?
Yeah.
So I went through that whole first season just completely like, what did I do? Like, why did I come here, right? Because I was in Bakersfield, and I always wanted to have that true college experience. Like, I want to go out of state. Like, my older brother.
You want the 4-year experience, get to the dorms.
Exactly.
Live with your teammates.
Exactly.
Start off with the team that you're going to play with for 4 or 5 years.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the normal experience.
Right.
Like, getting to know your teammates, getting to like go around the campus, do some extracurricular activities, all the above, right? Like exactly what you said. Yeah, and I saw my older brother go to Texas Tech right out of high school, and then he went to Cornell, and I was like, damn, like he got to do that. I want to do that. Like I want to get out of this town. I want to go play sports somewhere. It doesn't matter if it's baseball or football, right? So I was like, okay, what's the best path forward for me? And I was like, let's do football BC. So I reached out to Chudy. He's like, yeah, come on by. Let's go. Right. So obviously, I got there that summer, or I got there before summer, but that summer was when we first got on the pads and started actually competing.
And this is your sophomore year or your second year of school?
This would be still technically my freshman year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I ended up doing really well. Like I was like, wow, like it's still with me. Right. And ended up getting the starting position at linebacker. And then I got very lucky because our team ended up being very successful that year. We ended up going 12-2 in one state. And it was an amazing experience. Like they had like 25,000 fans at BC Stadium. Like you haven't seen that since the 80s, right?
Yeah,
so it's like very cool experience going to BC. That's when I started getting more interest from like all these colleges. Like all these coaches,
now eyes are on you.
Right. All these coaches started coming around now. Like I'm starting getting phone calls from like all these different places. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Like I was starting to get really excited now.
Yeah. That home run feeling's coming back on you,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. It goes back to that first home run feeling. Yeah. But so I had to do one more year at BC, my second year. And then after that second year, I started getting all these official visits from like all these colleges. Went to Cal, and then went to Baylor's visit, which I fell in love, obviously, in that visit. And then I also had like a couple offers from like Wisconsin and Miami. Yeah. So I had like way better options than I did in high school, right?
Those are big options.
Yeah, way better options than like the Fresno or San Diego State or San Jose, right?
Yeah.
So I went on that Baylor trip, and it was the Big 12 championship. Not obviously, you don't know, but they played Texas. And they ended up winning. Yeah. And it was absolutely amazing. Just the atmosphere, the people there. We went into the locker room after the game. They're like all celebrating, throwing up water and everything. And even the coach came up to me that recruited me. He's like, do you want this? Is this where you want to be? Like, this is what you'll get. And I was like, wow, you sold me.
Suit me up.
Let's go. I'll go out there right now, coach. So ever since that, like they offered me. I ended up going to Baylor. And so that first year at Baylor was really tough because I got there the January 2014 was my first month there, but we started spring practices February 15th.
So a month out.
So it's like a quick turnaround, right?
Yeah.
So I get there. I don't even know the playbook. I don't even know my teammates. I don't know anyone, right? I'm in Texas. Like I've been in California my whole life.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to have like really cool roommates that were on the team. Like they kind of like, made me comfortable, and they showed me around everything. And they're from Waco, which is where Baylor's from. So they kind of showed me around the town and everything, which helped out a lot. Yeah. So that first, the first spring practice comes, and they have me starting. They have me in the starting lineup. And I'm like, oh my, what the heck? Are you kidding me? I don't know where to line up. Yeah. Like these coaches are crazy. So obviously I have a horrible first practice. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to line up. I don't know who to read. Yeah. They freaking.
And plus they're the big boys now. Now you're in the big leagues.
Oh yeah. This is way different than BC now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes. Everything's way faster. Receivers are faster. The O-linemen are all 315 plus, 6'5", 6'6",
And fast and strong.
Oh, and they're just as fast. The big guys.
Yeah.
And just totally had a horrible first practice. Felt terrible. My coaches were chewing me out all day, and I just felt completely like, wow, why did I make the right decision coming here?
Yeah.
So I was like, wow. So obviously they pulled me from the starting position after that first practice. So I was like kind of like in a battle ever since that first practice. And then by the time summer comes around, I felt more comfortable with the playbook. I knew my teammates now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I feel I can start now. Mm-hmm. The problem is they had this 5-year guy that was coming back. He was injured during spring. He came back during the summer, and I was like, damn, like now they, of course, going to put him over me.
Yeah.
So he ends up starting, and I was the backup. And then what really turned it around for me was when we played Oklahoma later in that year. It was it's like third quarter with like 10 minutes left, right? And the guy in front of me goes down, got hurt. My heart starts beating out of my freaking chest.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to freaking have a heart attack. I was like,
this is Oklahoma.
This is in Norman, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Against Oklahoma. Yeah. And I was like, is this really happening right now? This is my first snap in college football. I'm going against Oklahoma right now.
Yeah.
So I was having these flashbacks of like, oh my gosh, I remember watching Oklahoma play USC. I remember Adrian Peterson winning the Heisman on Oklahoma and all these things. And, Bob Stoops coached those teams. And I looked to the sideline, there's Bob Stoops. So it's just
right
there he is. It was like the most surreal moment in my life. I was
he's telling his guys, okay, running at the new guy.
Yep.
Go right at the new guy.
Yep. Exactly. It's all about mismatches in college football or any football. And they want to expose you, you know? So, the first play, of course, that they want to send the receiver on a post where my zone is. Very first play, I almost get this interception. Like I had to dive down on the ground to scoop it, but it hit the ground.
Yeah.
But I was like, try to sell it. Like I got the pick and everything, but they replayed it, hit the ground.
Yeah.
So anyways, I was like, oh shoot. Okay. So I got a big confidence boost from that.
Yeah.
So started getting a couple tackles and everything. Right. And then I think by 8 minutes left in the fourth, their quarterback at the time was Trevor Knight, and he was a Heisman candidate. Mm-hmm. And this is what really this is what defined my Baylor career for my coaches at the time. He went out on a rollout pass, and I came off my coverage and I blitzed towards him, and I made one of the best sacks of my life, right? For an 8-yard loss, 10-yard loss, right?
Yeah.
My whole sideline teammates start going crazy. And then, I'm not saying I'm proud of this, but Trevor and I end up going out of the game because of it. That's how bad it was.
Right. Yeah.
So, that's what really defined my career to my coaches. And then ever since that, I got respect from everyone. I started to become the starter. Yeah. And then it really set up my whole senior year following that.
Right.
And then I had a great senior year, had 112 tackles that following year. I got all Big 12 linebacker. Everything was great. And then I started getting invites. I started getting, not invites, but, calls from these NFL scouts, right? I was like, wow, am I good enough? Am I actually really to be able to go to the next level? And so I had a pro day at Baylor. And I'm sure you know what a pro day is, right? It's just like the NFL Combine, but it's at your own campus.
Yeah.
And NFL scouts show up from every team. There's even CFL teams there that show up. Mm-hmm. And I had a really good workout, one of the best ever. My 40 time was a 4.56. Mm-hmm. Had a great broad jump, great vertical. I benched 25 reps on 225. I was just amazed at how well I was doing, right?
Yeah.
And then after the workout, Coach Tomlin for the Steelers, Mike Tomlin, he came up to me. He's like, hey, let's do a private workout right now. And I was like, oh gosh, okay.
Yeah.
So I did it.
Your heart.
Oh my gosh. I was like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
And he put me through some drills, and I did well on them. And, and then I talked to him afterwards. It's like, hey, we're going to have a rookie camp, in about a month. You should come. I was like, hell yeah. Yeah, I'm down.
Right.
So yeah, I went to the rookie camp, and it was awesome. They, flew me out to Pittsburgh, got to see Ben Roethlisberger and all the guys at that time that were there.
Yeah.
And it was it was eye-opening because of how different it was. Because I came from Baylor and like the Big 12 conference. It's all fast paced, right? Like right when the ball ends or right when the play ends, there's the snap for the next play is happening in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like it's super quick, right?
Yeah.
No huddles, like straight to the ball, right? I get there and it's like super slow paced. It's like these 16 word like offensive plays that the offense will have to do in the huddle. That's why they always huddle up every play, right?
Yeah.
So it's like completely different, slow pace. It was actually easier. But then again, I was in my head like these are all against other rookies too, you know.
Yeah,
so I was like, yeah, it's not against like, you know, the starters or anything like that. So I also thought about that too. So anyways, it was a really good experience. And,
Right.
Yeah, very grateful about, you know, it was a very unorthodox path, but you know, I thought I learned along the way.
That is a great college story though. That is. But so let's go back, you know, way back to where you were talking about you didn't pay attention to grades.
Right.
Now that seems you were, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but it seems like now nobody's going to get caught like that. Right. It seems like there's everybody's on the athlete now. Like make sure your grades are right.
For sure.
They're not going to let somebody slip.
Right.
If they know, I'm sure there's somebody around nowadays with somebody like you that's playing saying, hey,
right.
I don't know. Because I'm so old way back. I mean, grades mattered, but they've only mattered more and more and more as time has gone on.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And you are probably right on that edge of time where they didn't matter, but now they're starting to matter.
For sure. Yes, definitely. Like my little brother, for instance, like he learned from me. Like he had like a 3.8 at Garces.
Yeah.
Like really paid attention and like did well in school.
Right.
So I feel like they do tell the kids more and more to like pay attention, go to school, go to class and all that.
Right.
So,
and it's because it's so, well, especially baseball. You know, I have a friend whose son was really good in baseball and these guys are cookie cutter, you know, shortstop. I mean, I'm making up the stats, but all right, I want the guy to be 6 foot, throw right-handed, run, X speed, you know, all the weigh 185 pounds or, you know, and they have a book a foot thick of kids in high school that match that exact thing.
Right.
You know, they can do, it's like everybody's training so hard now. They know what each position needs to be physically.
Right.
And I'm sure it's the same in football. Linebacker, you know,
I'm sure every sport.
Here's a perfect linebacker. This height, this much weight, can run this speed.
The prototypical like height and weight, what you
want.
Yeah.
And then, now it's all about, and they better have, I think, a 3.5 or better. Right.
Yeah.
Because they know the rigors of the travel schedule, practice schedule. Like if you couldn't keep it up in high school, they're banking on you not keeping it up in college.
Exactly.
We can't afford, we're going to put all this money into you.
Exactly.
We can't afford to put that and then have you become ineligible.
Right. Yeah, exactly. If you're not taking care of it now in high school, like what makes us believe in you to do it in college where there's even more distractions? Yeah. You know, so exactly. Yeah.
So besides grades and working on school, which is hugely important, what advice would you give to let's start in junior high and beyond. And that kid wants to play football in college. You know, it's typical. You got to work out hard, But any nuggets of advice like, hey, this is what people are looking for. This is what you should be doing.
So yeah, obviously the working out part and the training, staying consistent with that, obviously.
Yeah.
Doing the right training. You can do the wrong workout sometimes. Like you might be doing more of like heavy lifting, whereas you should be doing more lightweight with explosive movements, right? So you can go in the nuances there. But other than that, the biggest thing that I learned other than training was nutrition. Because junior high, all throughout high school, I ate absolute crap, absolute junk. Sodas every day, candy, horrible crap, chips, horrible. That's all what I did during junior high and high school leading up to college. I was probably like 21, 22% body fat my senior year of high school, like weighed 250, like bad, like not good weight to have, right? So that first summer after high school, I was like, I got to completely transform my body because I was going into baseball. I was like, I got to lose all this weight if I want to like compete in baseball, right? So
at that level, what position did you play in baseball?
Center field.
Okay.
Center field. So I had to like, let's cut down the body fat. Let's do whatever. Right. And then I was lucky enough to have a trainer at that time that kind of like showed me the way, like, this is what you should do. Like, have 5 meals a day, make sure there's protein, make sure there's a good complex, slow digesting carb in each one, get your veggies, get your fruit, all that. Right. And I started doing that, and shoot, I lost like 40 pounds that summer, and I got down to like 8% body fat.
Yeah.
Like, I got like really low, and I felt good.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, and I was like, why didn't I do this earlier? Like, I felt like I would have done even better in sports in high school. I probably would have got like the offers. I got Fresno, San Jose, San Diego State. Probably would have got the UCLA or the, maybe I would have got Baylor at that time. Like, maybe, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing. So you're playing 2 sports. Baseball, much different build than a linebacker.
Right. Yeah.
Did you make a switch at some point? So you go into your freshman year, like, I got to drop some weight because you're going to go play baseball, right? I got to trim this thing down. Be more agile, be all the things that come along with that. So then you're like, it's BC football time.
Yep.
Did you throw the switch again?
Oh, yeah.
So explain that a little bit.
So it was actually a blessing in disguise because I had to get rid of that initial fat from high school, right?
Yeah.
So it was actually, I cut all that down, got rid of all the crap, all the fat. And then I got down to like 200 pounds. And then I was like, okay, I'm about to play football. I have to get to at least 225, right? So it was great. Got rid of the fat, and I just built up with muscle up to 225. So I still maintained my 8-9% body fat, but just gained muscle. So it was actually really good. I took the baseball path because I would have probably never lost all that weight.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that's what really turned it around me. I felt way more athletic, way more agile. I could jump higher. I can laterally move faster as a linebacker. So it helped out big time.
Yeah. Your weight routines must have changed drastically too. Like, okay, I'm training this for baseball. Now I was trying,
right. No, that's true.
Go be football. You're just switching it up. Yeah, you're losing weight, but then your type of workouts must have changed
for
big
sure.
time.
For sure. Yeah. Baseball, like, you can never really work your arms too much because you had to throw, right? Like, you had to make that big long throw out of center field to home plate sometimes. You never know, right?
Yeah.
So you never could do the curls or the triceps, the traditional stuff, right? Bench or anything. So I had to like do a lot of band work, a lot of resistance spans, just flexibility stuff. Whereas in football, you had to like bulk up, you had to like do the heavy lifting, the squats, the power cleans, the snatch, all that, right?
Right.
So it was a big difference as far as training, for sure. I probably did a lot more long distance training for baseball, like running miles and things. But for football, I did a lot more sprints.
Staying lean.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. When I had Tyler on here, Tyler Ferguson, one of his big things was coachability. Like, you could be the best athlete, but you still have to be coachable.
So true.
And he talks about his days. He says, I wasn't very coachable. I don't think that's how he put it, but he goes, I wanted to prove to them I can do it my way.
Right.
I can make that throw, regardless of if it's the right throw or not. I wanted to show them. And he goes, I just did that instead of listening to the system. And I'm imagining the more time that goes by, that's got to play a bigger role in if a kid's going to make it.
Oh, for sure.
Because it seems like nowadays, every single position of every sport, competition's intense, insane. What's going to set you apart?
Right. Right. No, that's so true.
You're 8% body fat. Guess what? So are the other 1,500 kids coming out of school.
Exactly.
Oh, you can run a 4.5. Guess what? These kids can too. It seems like that can be one of the things that really sets a kid apart.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, like, going back to what Tyler said, like, maybe he was right. Maybe he knew what he was doing. Like, maybe his way was the right way. But if you're being coached under someone, that's not what that guy's ever going to think, right?
Right.
That guy's always going to think he's right, and he's always going to think his system's correct. So it doesn't matter if
he's the boss.
It doesn't matter. Tyler might have been right. Like, who knows?
Right.
Like, he could have probably done better doing it his own way, but that's just not reality. You're being coached under someone else. He has his own system. He has his own beliefs. You got to that's your boss. Like you said, like, you got to listen to him. You got to be coachable. You got to be respectful.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, he won't play you. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And going back to like having like the 4 or 5 or being 8% body fat, like, your competition has that too. I mean, I feel like the separate yourself from everyone else is obviously the coachability part, but also the mental side, like for football, for instance, like I had to look at film session, like how to break down offenses, like all different types, like, like there's all different variations of offenses, like the air raid offense or the pro style offense, or like, 2-back, 2 tight end, double tight formations, like so much different things out there. And so if you get the mental aspect down and you know what you're doing, where you to line up, who to read, that's what separates yourself from everyone else. Because you don't have to be the most athletic guy, but as long as you have the mental side and the football IQ or any sport IQ down, you'll be better than that guy that has, might be faster than you or something like that.
Yeah. And it's just getting every year that goes by. Imagine playing now. You've been out 6 years.
Yeah.
Imagine I guarantee it's just more intense. They're just refining the mental game even more now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always repeat it. I'm been out of school forever. I'm 52 years old. And to know what water polo was like when I played versus watching these kids now, they're so much smarter. They're so much better. They're so much faster, and that's just the way life is. I mean, that's always going to continue.
Everything just gets better over time. Yeah.
When I watch these kids, they're just smarter.
Mm-hmm.
Like physically, I don't know. Yeah, they're faster, but their mental, their awareness of the game is so much more than what we had.
So true. Yeah.
And it's partly because I think the kids are just smarter than we were. And two, I think everybody knows how important that is now.
Right.
And they're focusing on it. And, these young kids that are coming up, I really hope they get that part figured out if they're going to pursue.
If they really want to separate themselves.
Yeah, their competition is crazy stiff.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So, yeah, here we are, 6 years out of school. Explain that transition, because so many people go through it. Mm-hmm. Everybody goes through it at some point. Yeah, maybe they go play pro, but you know what? Someday you're not going to be playing pro.
End someday, right?
Yeah. What was that like? Finishing, coming into real life, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
And any advice for kids going through that?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it's tough. It's what you've done your whole life. You're used to waking up at a certain time and being at practice at a certain day and time, being around teammates, the camaraderie around it. Like, it's tough to go from that to, a normal life job,
Yeah.
Like there's no like free food and drinks laying around anymore. Like that was probably the biggest adjustment for me. I was like, damn, there's no more free food or drinks that I can just grab anymore.
Yeah. But, it's already prepared for me. I just walk up and grab what I want. 3
free meals a day. Like, yeah, I missed that. So that was a big transition, like from that. But like, the biggest advice I would have to say is to, keep the competition alive. Like find something else, like, take up golf, take up tennis, maybe take up pickleball, like as simple as that, right? Keep that competition alive in your life. You know what I mean? That's what keeps that drive going. Because as an athlete, like it's hard to just completely get rid of that,
So
you gotta keep something in your life that you can look forward to and, maybe improve and like get better at,
Yeah.
So that's probably my biggest advice.
That is great advice because it keeps you mentally okay.
Right. Yeah.
You just have to figure out that now it's about me figuring out what I need to do competition wise.
Right.
You're going to be competing against yourself. And yeah, maybe you go find that thing where you're going to be really good at outside of college sports. And yeah, you're competing against others. But
yeah,
I think that, seems like a pretty common path and it's a smart path. Go find something.
Right. And it can be like business wise, like,
right.
Look forward to your job. Like how can I be better? How can I rise above, how can I go up in this industry? Things like that. Just like create games in your like competition games in your head. Like this is what X and Y I need to do to rise up in the industry in this business. So it's just simple things like that. Like finding ways to improve.
Yeah. Great advice. Man, that's your whole story is incredible.
Thank you.
Love talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
And there's a lot of nuggets in there for the young kids coming up and going through the system. Thanks for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me, John.
All right, man.